Hi, welcome to Tales from the Sky Lounge. It's a podcast about business, consulting, and venture investing. We get out there in the world and we talk to people who are making it happen and get their stories. So if you could like and subscribe, it really helps us get our message out. Today in the Sky Lounge, Katherine Hunter-Blyden. Hi, Katherine. Welcome to the Sky Lounge.
Hi, Todd. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you. Katherine, why don't you give us a little background? Who are you?
Absolutely. So I am today a fractional chief marketing officer to my clients, and the journey here has been quite varied. I started out in a pricing role. I wasn't an actuary, but I did some pricing work in an insurance company. From there, went off to business school, and post-business school went to Ford Motor and worked in marketing and different areas of marketing. Left there, went back to the insurance industry in a product management role, and spent the first half of my career in different Fortune 5 companies. And then spent the latter half of my career working with small businesses and middle market businesses, and I ran a startup for a short time.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about your insurance. You said you did pricing, but we're not an actuary, which is kind of interesting. I know you have a analytic math background as well. So what talk to us about how you price insurance, or do you have any?
Ooh. How we price insurance? Oh my goodness. You don't want a lesson in loss cost and thinking about severity and frequency. It's interesting work, but it would probably bore some of your listeners to death. What I will share is that during my time there, I had a fabulous mentor. He was my boss's boss, and he was very good at helping me understand businesses, helping me understand the business that we were in, and really helping me understand myself. So he was a good mentor in that he really helped to launch my career in a very positive way in helping me understand how businesses work. But one of the things that he did, he used to tell me how great I was.
Oh.
And really it was how great I was relative to other people. And I reflect back on that sometime. I think it made me overconfident in some ways. I won't say arrogant, but certainly overconfident in some ways. And this was I was probably in my mid-20s. So it probably took me 10 years to come down from that high and really figure out, gosh, these are the contributions of other people, and these are very important contributions. So good in some ways, lessons learned, that's the cycle of life, I guess. Business life.
That first mentor is such a critical thing, and it is so impactful for young people getting out of the gate. Have you taken that experience and turned it around and given it back to the next generation? You find that, you find a couple people here and there that you go, you know what, I'm going to help this person like my old mentor helped me. Do you ever have that experience?
More than a couple. Honestly, I spend a lot of time giving back. I've been a SCORE mentor for 10 years. SCORE is a resource partner for the U.S. Small Business Administration. And we support small businesses. We basically are take-all-comers. So anyone in business can go to SCORE or any resource partner for the U.S. Small Business Administration. There's SBDCs, Small Business Development Centers, and Women Business Development Centers or Women Business Centers. But SCORE mentors are just available to chat with business owners and help them figure out how to do business better. I've done that for about 10 years. I also mentored, oh my goodness. Back when I was in Michigan, I was a mentor in junior achievement. Okay. So I would go into classrooms and help students understand what business is about. So you're familiar with junior achievement, right, Todd?
Oh, yeah. Actually, it's funny. Both of my parents did junior achievement before I was born in Michigan. So they met at Michigan State. But that was a big, part. They were huge advocates and felt like, business education in the schools was a big deal. And then I was able to participate in high school for 1 year. And that was, I think back in the day, we ran a small company and we made first aid kits and then sold them, in the community. It had to do all the business accounting and all in the marketing and, account for every nickel in the sourcing, so that was a super formative experience for me. So I know, if you did JA for a number of years, you've definitely touched, probably dozens or even hundreds of young folks. And I wonder, do you have any that turned out exceptionally well or turned into any kind of entrepreneur from that experience?
Oh gosh, I don't actually have any knowledge that those young people did. Back when I was working in the schools with junior achievement, I was really working with elementary age students.
Okay.
Today, I sit on the board of Junior Achievement of Southern California.
Oh, wow.
So I'm working with JA in a different capacity today, but we have, and also JA has changed over the years. Like you, when I was in school, I had a little business that we would run in high school. Mm-hmm. So through JA, we had a business we would run. We were getting mugs personalized. I want to say they were beer mugs, but that doesn't seem appropriate for high school students.
Root beer mugs, right?
Root beer mugs. But we would go out and someone would get orders and that was the salesperson. And then someone else would stencil the initials on the mugs and that was the production. And then someone else handled the pricing and the money that was coming in and that was the finance person. So we had that program and that's changed a bit. JA today focuses on career readiness, on entrepreneurship still, but they've also brought in an element that's very important and not really taught in our schools, which is personal finance.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's a big deal.
It is.
Yeah. When we were coming through school, that was just one of the things you took. I felt like that was the one course I got the most out of, it was super practical. And then, I don't think either of my sons took any kind of personal finance going through the schools. So it's definitely needed. It's a good cause for sure.
Indeed.
So after insurance, it sounded like you had a heck of a boost, getting out of the gate with the insurance guys. What made you decide, okay, I'm going to go do some automotive work up in Detroit? How did you get to Detroit?
So in business school, I talked to a lot of different potential employers and my final interview with the Ford folks was with a guy by the name of Mark Hutchins, who was actually the president of the Lincoln Mercury division. And he said to me, if you come to Ford, we'll let you do anything in marketing anywhere in the world. Wow. And when I joined Ford, I joined a program they had called the Marketing Leadership Program. And it was basically a program for the high potential employees, right? And so you had lots of different opportunities inside the organization to work in all sorts of different divisions. And at the time that I was with Ford, they owned several brands. They had brands that they've divested since then. Land Rover, Jaguar, Aston Martin, Volvo, and of course the Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury brands, which today only Lincoln and Ford are still around. But yeah, lots of brands. So I get an opportunity to do different things in marketing in different places in the world. I worked here in the US. I worked with Ford in the UK, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina. So it was a good time, wow. Good experience.
That's just mind-bogglingly huge compared to a lot of the stuff we work on. Anybody would work on. What changes at that kind of scale, or how do you possibly think about all those brands under one umbrella?
You find marketing leaders like we were, some of the best and brightest to focus on different elements of the business, right? It's just, you've scaled, but you've got, in theory, what you should have is leaders at every level that own really their piece of the puzzle. But I will tell you, when I was at Ford Motor, the P&L was held at a very, very, very senior level. And looking back, I didn't realize how operationally it could have been so much better than it is today. But, some 25 plus years later, I can think about that business differently. And clearly, Ford has even thought about the business differently. I bet, I haven't looked into this, but I bet they have fewer employees today than they had 25 years ago.
No kidding. Okay. And then you said that the P&L was held at a very senior level. Does that mean you would advocate for smaller chunks being more autonomous in the business, or
oh, absolutely,
I
would. Because so that was the case when I was at Ford, that it was held at a senior level. So it was more difficult to get things done. I literally remember when I was at Ford Motor Credit, I had an idea, and I would take my idea to my boss. She and I would take it to her boss, and the three of us would take it to his boss. And that's how we got things done.
Oh man, so 6 months later.
Inefficient. Right. Versus, so when I left Ford, was this my first? Yeah. When I left Ford, I went to Progressive, and I was a product manager at Progressive, and I managed $100 million business, and I own the P&L for that business. Now, It's a multi-billion dollar company, but you've got, leaders at lower levels that really own and control parts of the business with other functions internally to make sure we're meeting our growth and profitability goals. And from a performance standpoint, I would say Progressive, certainly within the industry, was the darling, but I would even say they outperformed Ford from that perspective. They weren't as big from a revenue perspective, but they certainly were a better run entity.
So would you say that giving people more autonomy and responsibility is a good thing?
Giving the right people, it's giving people what they need at the stage that they're in their career, and what the need of the organization is. So when I go into a client today, I'm assessing who's on the team internally, who are the vendors we're working with as well, and I'm putting together this marketing plan that says this is how we should be moving forward. Within that plan, I've got to figure out who do we need to help move those pieces forward. So getting the right people in the right seats is critical. Mm-hmm. And then giving them the appropriate level of authority based on the seat that they're sitting in is important for the business. It's a way to grow and scale a business, a healthy business.
So, maybe compare, like, what's it like to market at Ford scale, where you're able to focus just on the brand or the brands, and then versus like a Progressive who's, I guess at that time, was probably an up and comer trying to go fast and take market and innovate. What was the difference between those two companies, or what's the thought process there?
I would say that at Progressive, we took more risks. They were, somewhat controlled, but more risks with the business that were well thought out risks. So I'll give you an example. We had product managers that managed at the state level. I was a product manager of a few states. I had peers across country that did the same thing. There were certain systems and processes we had in place that were consistent across the company. Within the jurisdictions that I managed, I had to create a product that was compliant in that jurisdiction and think about that competitive market that I was in. So at one point I had the state of Arizona. The competition in Arizona looks very different than maybe the product manager who's running the state of Texas. And so I've got to consider that. As we grew, a product manager was encouraged to test the market a bit. The company has to have some level of appetite for risk in order to allow these product managers to test, but it was the testing that was done locally that helped us to be better nationally, because we would figure out in a local market, this is the thing that works. Oh, we should try that in another market. Does it work in this market? And you could roll it across the country, but you had all of these different independent product managers testing things, and then best practices would come to the front and be implemented across the organization. I think Ford moved much more slowly. It was a large company. It's very difficult to move, but I think structurally they didn't have that level of testing. Again, bigger brand, a little bit harder to do, different organization, but I think that the appetite for risk in Ford Motor was less because of the size of the organization, but also because of the size of the organization and because the P&L responsibility, P&L responsibilities were such a high level, it made it much more difficult to get things done and to be innovative and to be scrappy. I think that's why, Fortune 5 companies oftentimes end up purchasing larger companies because it's the larger companies that are smaller companies rather, because it's the smaller companies that do the innovation that can't be done at the level of the big beast, the
Everybody forgets how to innovate,
multi-billion dollar
with
multinational.
the, yeah, you get it in these big companies and you're very successful and there's inertia, which is, you know, you're successful. So why would you change a whole lot of things? And then at some point things start eroding and you forget how to innovate. And then, you know, you can lose market share for sure. Um, I know you have an analytical brain. What do you measure? Like, how do you, when you market, what are your favorite things in those really big company type environments? What do you like to measure? Or how do you know when you're successful?
Oh gosh. Big companies, I would say big and small, we measure everything. I measure everything that can be, and then you have to figure out what's key in the things that you are measuring. I think this is a discipline I got from my time at Progressive. I often share with people that during my time at Progressive, if you sneeze, somebody was going to measure the distance and speed of the sneeze because we
Okay.
figured out everything
Okay.
through the data that we had. And
Okay.
again, it's a good discipline to carry forward um, into the work that I do today, particularly when we look at digital marketing, where
Hmm.
we have so much data available to us that we really can put together robust analytics to understand the health of the business and what we should be doing differently and what we should rinse and repeat. You asked what specifically.
Well, in very large older organizations, there's probably different things you measure than now today, some years later where it's changed and there's digital marketing and everything's faster and there's different channels. Have things changed what you want to measure? Surely some of the things are still the same, but there's probably different other things you got to measure today. So what? I guess maybe walk me through, like, if you were going to measure back in the day, what did you pay attention to? Are some of those things still relevant today?
I think that by and large, what we measure from a growth standpoint hasn't changed. So if you think about the drivers of growth, it's new business growth, it's renewal business growth, and it's
Uh-huh.
average revenue growth. Those are the things, and you can drill down on components on each of those, but at a high level, that's what you want. I don't think that metric has changed. I think that our access to the data that drives those is what has changed. We have
Okay.
more data today. We have more data at our fingertips. I can remember a time in some of the larger companies I've worked for where I needed to go to business intelligence group. I put in a request for the data I want. It might take a week to come back to me. Whereas today, some of that is in a dashboard that I can, with a couple of clicks, I can find the information that I'm looking for to help make a decision. So in theory, we should be doing things faster because we have more immediate access to data. But I don't think the high level metrics of and the fundamentals of how to grow a business have changed all that
Okay.
much.
Yeah. And when you were describing those big three, I was like, oh, that's pretty much what enterprise SaaS looks at. You need new customers. You need to keep the customers you have, right? And then you need more of them. That's maybe that hasn't changed, and that's basic business. But then we kind of get caught up on all these flashy tools and what users are clicking on and their dwell times on the website, and you know, I guess it helps, but fundamentally you got to get new people in the door and buying stuff, right?
You got to get
Um,
new people on the door. And for the businesses that like repeat customers, all of us like repeat customers. Although I have a client today that's personal injury attorney. They don't really want repeat customers.
oh, yeah. Hopefully
Yeah.
not. One time, please.
Yeah.
Um, so you said at some point you hopped off, and then now you're serving a little bit smaller, scrappier companies, and I think you had to stop in entrepreneurship yourself. Um, how how did you get to California, or what brought you to California?
Uh, my job is always what has moved me around the country. I left Michigan in 2001, and I
Okay.
moved to San Diego in 2001 to work for Progressive. In
Okay.
fact, when I met the good folks at Progressive, I was at a recruiting event. I was recruiting for Ford when I met them, and at the time, I wanted to leave, and my family wanted to leave Michigan. And I remember talking to the recruiter at Progressive, and I said, "Where are you based?" And she said, "Cleveland." And I said, "Oh, someone once told me that Cleveland was Detroit with glitter. We're not moving there." and she and she said, "Well, we've got other markets that we're in." And she named a few, and San Diego was on the list. And
Okay.
um, you know, carry this forward now. Um, I ended up with an opportunity with Progressive in San Diego, and so that's what brought me to California.
Okay.
And then Progressive's a little bit of a darling in the property and casualty market when it comes to product management. So I was recruited to move to Los Angeles to work for farmers.
Okay.
So
Okay. So you made it to LA, and I love California. There's so many people that dream big, and at what point did you get bitten by the entrepreneur bug? Um,
I mentioned that I was a score mentor for a while, and so I have literally mentored hundreds of businesses over the last 10 years. And I would see different people that were running businesses, and I would think, I should go back to doing this. I want to run a business. I felt like, when I owned a P&L within the larger companies that I worked with, I was running little businesses, but I wanted to hang out my shingle and run my own. And so I stumbled across an idea, and I thought, I should run with this. I should run with this. And I created a business plan and actually bootstrapped and launched my startup on my own before I got a little angel funding.
okay.
Really appreciative of the angel funding.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's it like? Maybe running a P&L within a well-supported, very large organization is one thing. You learn a lot of really valuable lessons with that responsibility. How does that translate into all of a sudden you're single shingle, and you have to write the checks, you have to take out the garbage, you have to do all the things, right? So what that it's some of it translates, and then some of it's kind of whiplash, right? Going on your own.
Right. So I always tell folks that I really learned to be very scrappy when I got on my own. I was so used to having a resource for everything I needed, even my expense reports. Like, can you handle these for me? And then all of a sudden, to your point, I had to take out the garbage and I had to do everything else. So the fortunate thing is that was later in my career, and there were many more digital tools available. I think about entrepreneurs today; they have these artificial intelligence tools to help with their business. So, you can definitely get a lot more done just because there are so many different software and digital resources available than there were, 20 years ago or 30 years ago when folks were starting businesses. But it was a bit of a uh, learning curve isn't the right thing. It was
Culture shock.
culture shock. That's it. That's it. Yeah.
So,
But it's a good thing, Todd, because now today I'm working with smaller businesses, and now I know how to be scrappier, and now I know how to think leaner, versus me coming immediately from Fortune 5 companies into small businesses. And I've had that step along the way that says, okay, this is how you get really scrappy. And I like to think I'm very, very efficient with my clients' resources.
I can't remember. I think it was my real estate business. I collected rental houses for a couple of decades, I guess. But early on, it was how do you? There's a book called Guerrilla Marketing. I don't know if you ever read that one, but it was all the sneaky little hacks you could do to get out there for almost nothing. And to me, that was like eye opening how much you could actually do in a digital world for not very much money. And then I think the best investment I ever made was a $5 rubber mallet for pounding in signs in the side of the road, with magic marker, house for rent, but it's very surprising, when you come out of a large company and you have, $1 million to spend on a Super Bowl ad or whatever, that's a much different environment from every nickel counts, and
Yeah.
you got to
Oh,
produce.
imagine that you could start that business today and you have tools that are available to you for free that are
Uh,
writing your email subject lines for you,
Oh,
or at least
incredible.
giving you some ideas
Oh
for
yeah.
free.
Yeah. How much more quickly can you get to market and, you
Exactly.
know, iterate and measure, monitor, and like, I can't imagine, back in the day, barely, I don't even know if we wrote emails. But today you can iterate A, B, C, D, E test different content and, with different iterations and see what the response rates are. I mean, it's incredible what you have available today. Um, so what's your typical playbook? You go into some of these smaller companies, that are either maybe B2B or B2C. What do you look at first? What's the biggest bang for the buck for someone who doesn't have enough business and needs a professional to help them get started in marketing?
Yeah. So I usually start with really trying to understand what the client's problem is. So I have in my mind a framework, but rather than just go in and this is what I want to do, I'm going to start with what is their real problem. So I spend a lot of time talking to folks internally, talking to leaders in different functions internally to understand where are the problems. I'm looking for a couple of things. One of the things I'm looking for is there an opportunity to get a small win or maybe a big win quickly? So the low hanging fruit, where's there an opportunity? Outside of that, the framework, when I think about marketing, I think about two buckets, brand and direct response. So
Okay.
brand is all of those things that um, make the company stand out in the mind of whoever their target customer is. And the direct response is all of those things that make someone take the action you want them to take. So
Okay.
that whatever gets them to take, to take the call to action. Um, so generally, I'm coming in and assessing both of those things for a client. In some cases, clients routinely don't like to invest in brand, particularly smaller clients. They want sales today. How do we get more sales today? Even through the marketing, how do we get more leads today? Not really thinking about the brand, but there's some fundamentals of brand that you have to start with. I had a potential client who was looking at a market that they used to play in where there's lots of competitors today and they just can't compete because those
Okay.
competitors are sending um, are reducing cost for their customers by using offshore and nearshore resources.
Uh-huh.
And so what they need to do is figure out who their market is today. Okay, that's part of the strategic plan of okay, let's figure out who we were talking to yesterday and who we're talking to today, and figuring out what the brand looks like today. You need to know who you're talking to. So the brand that they had yesterday spoke to a market that they no longer have access to.
Okay.
So they need to invest in brand to be able to put the right message in the market for their offering to this new target.
Okay.
And in those cases, there has to be some upfront investment in a brand, even when you're a small, um, lower middle market company.
And then, so I guess what are your favorite tools for branding? Super Bowl ad is you know, kind of been there, done that. I guess it's still a good thing, but not what you think of, when you're launching. It used to be like Silicon Valley startups would go grab us, like the Apple, ad and the Super Bowl. What do you reach for first as a digital marketer in these smaller companies?
So, one of the things that I think almost every single company that I work with should be using is email marketing. It
Oh,
is just extremely efficient. Uh, if you have a customer base, you are going to get in front of them and get your message in front of them at a minimal cost. If you don't have a customer base and a customer list, then you need to be about the business of building that so that you can continually talk to customers and prospects about what you do and what your offering is and how it meets their need. So I would say email marketing is still essential for everyone. Outside of that, I try to make sure that the channels that we're in really cater to the problem that we're trying to solve for the client. You mentioned television. I don't have any small clients in television, not even local television,
oh wow.
not today.
Okay.
I'm
Wow.
sure it happens, but I don't have any today.
Um, so talk about email for a second. So when you say email marketing, everybody kind of goes, spam. You're not talking about cold emailing into a list that you buy off the internet, right? You're talking about curating a customer list, creating a relationship with them, and then like almost like a newsletter or something. Is that what we're talking about?
Absolutely. So,
Okay.
not even just a newsletter. Newsletter is nice if you have nothing else in the market, but let me be clear first about the list. No, I'm not suggesting we buy a list and then we email and spam the folks that are on that list. That actually is a violation of can spam laws. Unless you purchase a third party list from someone who has permissive use to sell your information to a third party. But even in that case, that's probably not the best way to utilize email marketing. You're right. You want to build a curated list either of customers that you've had or prospects that have come to you from different channels.
Okay.
Um, Absolutely. And then beyond the email, so newsletter, if you have nothing else, is nice to have. You get in front of the client regularly. What is even better than that is to take the content that you own and tailor that content to the to segments within your contact list. If your
Okay.
contact list is large enough, you can segment your list in such a way that you're sending the right communication to the right individual,
Okay.
the right email that is relevant for the audience that you're trying to reach.
So what do you like to put in the emails? Like by segment, is it like a new offer? Is it informational? Is it, hey, it's Taco Tuesday. Let's eat dinner, or what kind of messaging do you put in those kind of emails, and how frequently do you like to send stuff out?
Oh gosh, that is such a big question. So all of that is, it depends. The answer to all of it
Right.
is it depends. If you're sending to, let's say, a referral network, and there are people that are gonna send business to you and you just need to stay top of mind with them, that might be a lower frequency than, say, a prospect that you know is in market. And the communication, the what you send, depends on who they are. If they're a referral partner, what does that referral partner need to know about you in terms of how you're going to handle the client that they have that they're going to refer to you? That's what you're going to put in that email. If it's a prospective customer or prospective client, where are they in their buyer's journey? What do they need to know at this point? What information do you have that you can share with them that's relevant for them at that point? So though what you put in the email, really, it really depends on who you're talking to, what content you already have available, and what their needs are.
Content is kind of hot topic right now. So, how do you think about content marketing at this day? It used to be content was great. It's difficult. You had to write a bunch of stuff. AI has kind of changed our ability to generate a lot of content, but now, I don't know if that's the best route. What's your current thinking on how do you generate? What's the best content to market with? And then, can we use AI to put a bunch of content out there and be effective?
So, in terms of the type of content, or in terms of where content is today, the content that you should be developing depends on the audiences that you're trying to reach. If you have, again, it depends on where they are in their buyer's journey. It depends on who you're trying to reach. If it's existing clients and you're looking for repeat purchases, there's a certain amount of content. There's a certain type of content that you're going to send to that audience. I think it's critical to have an ongoing library of content available to distribute in different channels. It may be on your website, it may be through a blog, it may be through an email, it may be through social media, it may be content that you turn into a postcard, but you'll want to create library of content based on who you're trying to reach, the contacts that you're trying to add to your potential customer or to your customer base.
So, content leads to social media and then that's not for everybody, right? So what do you think about social media? I know the answer is going to be depends, but is that a valuable tool? Have we kind of jumped the shark on that? How do you think about social media today? Is that a good channel?
Yeah, well, so just to tie that content development thread, you need the library of content, and you need to spend as much time distributing that library of content as you do creating it. Okay. And one of those distribution points for many, many, many companies is social media. Okay. So the thing is, you need to be in the right media for the client that you're trying to reach. Talked about referral marketing earlier. Oftentimes, referral partners can be found in LinkedIn or in LinkedIn as a social media. It may be that you are trying to reach consumers directly. If it's, I hate to say this, now I'm going to say older because it's me, but if you want to reach older folks, you're more likely to go to Facebook than you would be to Instagram or some other. Sure. So it really depends on who you're trying to reach. It's not enough to just be there and be on that social platform. You also have to build an audience on that platform. So building the audience on that platform allows you to get more impressions in that market, but those impressions only grow when your content is great. Okay. Because the way that the search engine algorithms work, they'll show your content to your follower base, to maybe 1% to 2% of your follower base. And then in order for you to expand your reach, you have to get some engagement. If you get engagement with that first 1% or 2%, then most of the algorithms will recognize that and they'll show it to more.
Okay.
So that good content, that development of content up front is important. And it needs to speak to the folks that you're trying to reach in whatever social media platform you're using to distribute the content.
Yeah, I think at one point you were talking about, the ratio of, one mistake people make on social media is just treat it as a big coupon book. Come buy, 20% off. Today's deal is, hamburger, fries, and Coke or something. That's not a great strategy, right? Or, what's the right kind of ratio of engaging and being compelling and having great content versus, asking for the deal?
If you asked me this question 10 years ago, I would say 20% of the time. I used to do a presentation on Facebook marketing, and I would say you have to show up. You could sell in 1 out of 5 posts. You could sell something. That other 4% of the time, you're being social, you're sharing information, you're being helpful, but you're not selling. Today, I think it's even less, just because we're so bombarded with messages. If you can be helpful to a potential buyer as they're going through the journey, you might actually get the response that you want as much as you would putting out a coupon that or an offer. That putting out an offer too frequently will make people tune you out. And again, if they tune you out and there's no engagement with your content that you're distributing on social, then the platform is going to quit showing your content or show it less.
Right. So, I had this debate, in the last couple months. So if you use social media or maybe ads, like Google ads or something to drive people to a website, what's the thought there? There's kind of two schools of thought of, do you put them on a landing page and then immediately ask them for their digits, their email contact information, or do you think the other school of thought is, provide a never ending stream of interesting things to look at on the website? It's just another place, and then off to the side, provide that call to action button when they're ready. Do you feel like buyers need time to warm up, or do you feel like it's a hard close, and it's a numbers game? Or maybe it depends.
So you mentioned Google Ads. So Google Ads specifically, you're usually getting people that are in market. They're searching for something. Oftentimes those keywords that you're buying fit with when someone is in market and looking for you. I'm in the market for customized mugs. I look up customized mugs. You sell customized mugs. I'm in market today. I may not want to buy your mug today, but what I want to do as the advertiser, I want to monetize that, because one, search costs are going up, paid search costs are going up. You want to capture that person today so that you can send them communication back to email marketing in the future. I am a big proponent of having a landing page that captures information for folks that are willing to give it to you. If they're not, fine. But when they're willing to give it to you, absolutely. It's quite expensive to use paid search to send people to content and never know they came there. Okay. How will you know if you ever see them again? Well, you'll know, okay, we can put certain things on the website. We can figure out when they're coming back. Sometimes, even some of that is changing. But capturing the information lets you then send a follow-up communication. You know what they looked at. You know where they went. Then you can send a relevant follow-up communication.
So hit them with, hey, thanks for stopping by. Can we get your email? Would you like for us to call you, or outreach or something?
No, a simple form on a landing page will do.
Okay. Just
a form on a landing page, right?
Okay.
If they want more information, if your landing page has an offering on it, I don't think so. There is a formula for a landing page that is have something to give them so that you can capture their information and then you can send that piece to them. There's some of that, but sometimes there's a landing page that has information and they're in market because what keyword they use to get to you. Capture the information so that you can then send a richer communication via email, and then you'll watch how they respond to that, and then the next communication builds from that.
And then you drop them from there, and they're in the CRM.
Right.
What about one of the things that is top of mind for me is urgency of response. So do you feel like in our ADD society, it's gotten worse and worse, where somebody responds right now to an ad or a social media post or something, they come and they raise their hand and say, I'm ready to buy, or I'm interested to talk. How critical is it to get to them very, very quickly, defined as minutes, not days?
I would say you want to.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure there's another answer to that. Yeah. You want to get to them as quickly as you can. I have a client now. We're considering more having more customer support during off hours. It
Okay.
was previously we had just business hours, but then we were trying to decide, should we run our ads after business hours? Are there people
Hmm.
searching for us after business hours? And
Uh-huh.
then if they come to us, what should we do? Should we be responsive during that time? Can we wait till Monday if they come to us on a Saturday? But generally speaking, you want to get them in mark. If your competitors are there, you want to be there.
Okay.
So you want to get them when they are ready to buy.
Okay. And then is that like have you used those chat bots on the on page or something like that, or is it an email response? As soon as somebody lobs an email in, you get an email back, or what? How does that? How do you get them talking to a person that's
So
ready to?
both. So
Okay.
both. The chatbots are getting much more robust. I've not yet used, but have heard about the AI chatbots, where it's not just that the chatbot is responding. You can still build your FAQs into the chatbot and have it respond in the way that you want it. But now there are AI chatbots that will learn the material that you have on your website so
Uh-huh.
that it can then respond based on the questions that they're answering that you already answered somewhere in the space of all of the content that you've developed on your site. That's smart.
Yeah,
Really smart
I think.
use of
Yeah, we
artificial.
talk about that in the tech on the tech side. Retrieval augmentation for the LLMs. The chat bots, and plus some smart, relevant content that can get served up or referenced. I think it's super powerful. It's, I think that's definitely something to watch in the market. A lot of interest from where I'm sitting, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what else? What else are you looking at? What's the hot thing that we should keep our eye on? Any forward looking things in marketing that are trendy or might be interesting? We just got to see how it plays out.
Yeah. No, I think it's just these different tools that are available from to implement or rather to use and incorporate artificial intelligence into the business. I think opportunities that, to the extent that I can help you be more efficient, get to market faster, um, those can be powerful things and game changers. And the thing is, if your competition gets to it first and they're using it and they're more lean than you, it's
Game over.
right.
Yeah, you never even get an at bat if they can close so much quicker with relevant content.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Well,
there's just so many different things on the horizon with AI. In fact, the number of tools, I was just thinking about this earlier today. The number of tools is exploding, and I keep hearing about a new tool every day. I feel like I'm at the point where I need to start testing a new tool, like put on my agenda in my own personal development to just start testing tools to say, oh, this works, or this doesn't work, but I like the concept. I like where it's going. So I've got to watch for what's happening in this space. Lots of new things on the horizon. But what really surprises me is the number of people that are not willing to use AI at this point. It's been out, we've had ChatGPT for, I think, 18 months now that it's been available to us. And I think that one of the biggest concerns people have is about, the accuracy, whether or not it's going to hallucinate and give them facts that
mhm.
aren't actually correct. But I don't think that we should let those risks and concerns really stop us from taking advantage of the tools that are available and what it can do. Certainly, we shouldn't just take results from AI off the shelf. We should really think through, how are we going to use this information? Is this information accurate? Fact check it where we can, and then let the tools help us be more efficient and do more things that we haven't been able to do in the past.
We were talking about that in the a lot of Zoom calls these days. So which transcriber are you seeing today? And I've seen waves. It's like I'm not going to name names, but there's like a certain one that pops up and everybody's got one. And then they kind of decide, this isn't what I wanted. And then there's another one that pops up, and I think we're now on the third or fourth wave of that. And they do get better, incrementally better every iteration. But, what a wild ride right now in AI. You do have to keep on top of it, I think, like you're saying, and just keep trying stuff out. It's a big effort to stay on top of it.
It's also a little obnoxious. So I've been in Zooms where there's 20 people, looks like it's 20 people on the call. There's not 20 people on the call. There are 10 people on the call and there's 10 note takers on the call.
Right. A cool thing happened this morning. We had a demo session for a software delivery, and then it almost started happening with, hey, I'm going to turn on my note taker. And then one lady said, it's okay, I've got my whatever, bot. That should be good. And everybody went, oh yeah, that's the way to do it. And designated, whose bot's going to take the notes and distribute.
Or let the bots fight it out, and the top bot wins. The rest get kicked off.
Yeah, they can AI and negotiate and pay crypto to each other or something. That'd be fun. Yeah. Well, Katherine, it's been great having you here in the Sky Lounge, and it's all about travel and getting out there in the world. Do you have a favorite travel story to share with us?
I do. So my favorite travel story is the time when I went to Rio in 2016 for the 2016 Olympics.
Oh, okay.
I was leaving out of LAX, and I was leaving the day before I was due to check in for my volunteer service in Rio for the Olympics. And my flight was canceled, and I was stuck at LAX with many, many, many people on my flight. And all of the flights into Rio from LA were booked because the Olympics was the next day, so no one could get a flight in. And I finally worked my way to the front of the customer service line. I said, look, I'm volunteering. I have to get there. I'm planning this for 2 years. You don't understand. I'm staying for 3 weeks. I had a plan. And the thing is, I would show up. If I showed up a day late, that 3 weeks, I don't know what I would have done in that time. Some very kind customer service rep rerouted my flight, and she took me from LA to New York to London to Lisbon to Rio. And I got there in time to check in for my volunteer service, and I was able to serve for 3 weeks. So that was
wow. So what a clutch play right there. Yeah. How many meals is that in an airplane? That's kind of
too many.
Couple, 3. Yeah. Wow. What a great story. Well, it's been great having you here. And how can people follow up with you on the internet if they want to contact you after this?
I'm on LinkedIn. So I love for folks to check me out on LinkedIn. I actually have a newsletter on LinkedIn they can subscribe to. It's Marketing That Matters. We've got some 2,000 plus subscribers now, so that's a great place to connect. They can also find my information on the TechCXO website.
Well, thanks, Katherine. It's been fun having you here.
Thank you for having me, Todd. I appreciate it.
Bye for now.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us in the Sky Lounge. Please like and subscribe to hear more from Tales from the Sky Lounge here and anywhere else you get your podcasts.